Hey there, Matthew.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. How's the new assignment?
New assignment is keeping me busy, which is awesome. Ned, wonderful to connect with you. Yeah, thanks for your time. Yeah.
And this is we're going to talk about how to build a community, correct?
Now, this is where we're going to talk about you.
Oh, I thought it was how to build a
everything
community.
that's in your head. Okay.
I'm all ready for building a community.
We'll also talk about that. Yeah. So, Ned, why open water swimming?
Are you recording this?
Yes, this has already started. Why open water swimming? Yeah.
You know, I played water polo at a fairly high level for a number of years. Open water swimming just wasn't there. You know, no one was doing it that I could ever see or hear of. And when I was living in Pleasanton, California, I was swimming in the mornings and at lunchtime, and somebody said, you know, for $20 you can swim in Shadow Cliffs, this old rock quarry.
Mm-hmm.
I would swim there in the morning. I always needed a buddy, and somebody then suggested, you know, why not swim Alcatraz? I did the South End Rowing Club Alcatraz swim. 700 people went out on the boat. A couple of people got married. Somebody was in handcuffs. Almost everybody was in a wetsuit. I was the last one off the boat because I thought they were just going to make everybody wait around for a while. Mm-hmm. And I zigzagged the course from kayak to kayak. Mm-hmm. The second year I went back, I just followed somebody who was a podium winner and had a pretty good time.
Awesome.
And when I moved to Ireland, you know, the choices of what to do were fairly limited, but great coastline, a lot of water, so open water swimming.
Awesome. You were in technology sales.
Correct, and in consulting, yes.
Yeah, I believe at one point of time, I think we were competing for like different technologies. Yeah, I believe I used to, I mean, I was on the technology side of implementation and execution. I forget the document management system that I was involved in. And you worked for Documenta.
For a while, yes.
That's awesome, yeah. So your open water swimming started in California.
Well, I mean, we were swimming in the lake when I was a kid, but there were no events, no organized anything. So
okay.
it literally started when I was in California.
Okay. And then like, how did this long distance swimming come into your life?
So we were doing, you know, swim around the small island, 1.6 kilometers. Mm-hmm. There were a couple of kind of 3K swims in the area. And I read about somebody organizing this 8K swim, 8 mile or 8K swim out to an island in the west coast of Ireland. Mm-hmm. So I contacted the person and he said, well, you missed this year, but next year we're organizing some English Channel relays. Are you interested? I said, sure. And I organized a conference call. His name was Martin Cullen. He's unfortunately passed away. Mm-hmm. But I organized a conference call with like sort of 12 of my buddies or 10 of my buddies, whatever it was. And we all signed up. It was going to be 5 teams from Ireland over and back English Channel relays. Mm-hmm. The more I thought about the relay, the easier the solo sounded. So I mentioned it to a buddy of mine in the pool one day. He said he had been over for a solo 5 or 10 years earlier and hadn't gotten wet because the weather was bad. Mm-hmm. And that night, the two of us signed up for solos and I dropped out of the relay. Mm-hmm. And that was really the start of serious long distance swimming in County Cork in Ireland.
Mm-hmm. Was this around 2003, 2004?
This was 2004 that we signed up, and the swims took place in 2005. Okay. It also pushed the group together to make, you know, sort of group goals and have group training and to have a group celebration. And before that, group really wasn't the word. It was just a collection of people without, you know, kind of doing a lap every week or so.
That is true, because this is my memory from 2004. Of course, most of our memories are influenced by certain events. There was a email syndication group, which was focused on English Channel swimming. Yeah,
it was organized by Nick Adams.
Nick Adams from Smart Groups. Yeah, and I remember you being an active participant there, like asking all kinds of queries. You were just curious, yeah, about the whole thing. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. So how was your first English Channel swim crossing, Ned? Yeah.
So I think even before that, I really enjoyed the training. There were two of us training together in Cork. I also had another training partner. We carpooled. And carpooling is an interesting one. You get up at some stupid clock in the morning and you don't really want to go swimming, but you know Kieran is on the way to get you.
Yes.
You have to go. Or you don't want to go, but you realize Kieran's waiting for you to come. So we did a lot of training as a pair. I had a mentor who had done the English in the North Channel before that, and Martin Cullen was always there with some help and advice. So my first swim, I went over. The relay teams were already there, and they were delayed. And they finally completed. The next day, I had already made the decision that I wasn't looking at the weather. Whatever the weather was going to be, if the boat pilot was going, I was going. I was going to get wet. The idea of not getting wet was just horrific to me. So I think 3 boats went out that day. 2 of them turned back quite quickly. And I went about 8 hours. I drank 1.1 liters in 8 hours. I had 3 buddies on the crew who knew nothing about swimming or the English Channel. One was sick in Dover Harbor. We never saw him. Another guy stood at the entrance to the boat cabin about to be sick. And the third guy was a world-class yachtsman, a sailor. But our training, the bottle was tied with a 3-meter cord. There were 2-meter swells. So I'd come in, I'd grab the bottle, the boat would go up, the bottle would pop out of my hands, and I'd be looking at the barnacles on the bottom of the boat coming down. So after 8 hours, they just said, you're done, time to get out. I then went back 60 days later to complete the swim.
Wow, awesome. Yeah. So you actually meant, when we started this call, you mentioned this is all about community. In fact, I think you also made a reference to carpool and commitment that's involved in it, because Kieran is up at 2 a.m. in the morning. And that's how this community starts. Commitment gets associated with community. And you start pushing barriers. And there is a cohesive goal associated with it. Tell me about it. Yeah.
So we've built a great community down here. And I'm trying to list the elements of building a community. And for people, you certainly wouldn't need to do all of these elements. But I think the single most important element of building a community is you go say hello to people you've never seen before who show up to swim with you. You go up and you say hello. You ask their name. You ask them what they're doing. We had a decision very early on here that we weren't going to give the people in Speedos, we're not going to give the people in wetsuits a hard time. So our rule was we applaud everything. We don't care if you're wearing a wetsuit, thermal gloves, a pair of flippers. We've never had anybody with one of those underwater fans, but who knows, someday we might have that. So we got rid of all of that stuff. The next thing we did was we started scheduling. Now, back in the old days, we only swam at high water, and we only swam when it was light. We never swam before 11 o'clock on a weekend because some people couldn't get up. We published a schedule of when we're going to swim during the year. And we also published a schedule of the races or events. For some people, they're races, for others, they're events. Then we focused on making some of them bigger. And our Vibes and Scribes Lee Swim, which is 2K, kind of around part of the city of Cork, Ireland. It's down one branch of the river and back up the other. It restarted in 2005. And at that first year, we struggled to get 100 swimmers. Now it's 450 swimmers. So we made those events bigger. And for a lot of people, some of those are events where they're returned to swimming. They'd stopped swimming when they were 16, 17, 18. They discovered boys, girls, the pub, cars, whatever it was, and they kind of dropped out. But they came back through those events, and some of them became very serious sea swimmers. The Lee Swim, the tradition in Ireland was that the races were handicapped. So the slowest swimmers would start first, the fastest swimmers would start last, It was a famous or infamous event where the fastest swimmer one day was still on the starting blocks, and you could see them getting out at the end, finishing. So we changed all that, and we put the faster swimmers in first, but we did medals by time in master group ages.
Okay.
Wetsuit and non-wetsuit were two different categories.
Mm-hmm.
So 25-30% of the people came away with a medal, which would have been 4 times the size of what they ever would have gotten swimming as kids. One of the other strange things we did as we assembled a history of all the swims of 5K or more in the open water in County Cork. And at the time, it wasn't particularly difficult. There were only a few of them.
Okay.
We kept a list of people who had done a 5K swim. And if they did it in a wetsuit, we put a little W next to it. We weren't interested in the time or the date or the sea conditions, just the year and the swim in the name. And that list grew to be about 35 pages long, kind of single spaced. We've now changed it to be a 10K starting position. But the people who got on that list for the first time, for them, it was like winning the Olympics. You know, their name was on the list. One of the odd things that happened during Celtic Tiger is after we had done our Big English Channel year, I surveyed people and I said, what do you want to do next year? One of the things I threw down on the list was Alcatraz. And the response was massive. And it was during Celtic Tiger. Everybody thought that had a lot of money. So we contacted the South End Rowing Club and they said, yeah, we welcome a group. And I think the biggest group they'd ever had before, there was about 5 people. And the Dolphin has Italian roots and South End has Irish roots. So by the time we're done, we signed up 125 people. And the South End Rowing Club was going completely crazy. They just couldn't imagine this. Now, the team from Ireland got a bit weird. So one woman from Cork convinced her cousin in San Francisco to do the swim. She came over for the party, but he was included in the Ireland group. We had 3 guys from Clontarf, which is in Dublin. They stopped in Long Island in New York to pick up their cousins. By the time the cousins arrived in San Francisco, they were more Irish than the guys who had been born in Ireland. 92 or 93 swimmers from our group finished the swim. It was a year when the boat pilot kind of messed it up, didn't line everybody up and pulled the horn when the first person hit the water. All but 93 people complained hugely to the South End Rowing Club, and all the people from my group said we had a great experience. One of the other things is communications. You talk about the smart groups that Nick Adams started for the channel. We had similar here. We had text groups. We then put together a small website. We now have a very active WhatsApp, a number of WhatsApp groups and Facebook. Facebook page. Our Facebook page has 2,700 people on it. Some people who have never been to Europe, never been to Ireland, and certainly never been to our water, but they wanted to belong to some sort of community. It's very strange for me. And we also are quite active for visitors. So people from around the world come to visit. They typically contact us. We respond immediately, and we find somebody to meet them. Try to line them up with somebody of similar speed and make sure they're competent and have done some cold water. And that leads us to the next thing, which is we got permission from the South End Rowing Club, Gary Emmich in particular, to steal his concept of a Centurion cap for 100 Alcatrazes. So we had 100 lap cap of Sandy Cove lifetime laps. And we added a 500, and we added 1,000, and we added a 3,000 lap. And then last year we weren't sure if it was going to be a good thing or not. We added a One-Turion cap. And we thought people might find it a bit.
I'm rooting myself for that cap.
We thought people might think it was offensive, Centurion, One-Turion. But for the people who do their first lap ever, for some, it's the biggest athletic accomplishment of their lives.
Absolutely, yeah.
And for visitors that come, a lot of them think it's just the coolest thing to get a cap. And we also have a 10K, 10-mile, and 25K Cork Marathon swim cap. And these caps are presented in social settings, if possible, with people with cake in their mouth and applause going and whatever. a lot
Ned,
of
Ned, this is awesome, but hold on a second. I want to talk about you, okay?
okay.
I know you're living. When did you move to Ireland, by the way? Yeah,
About 2000.
2000. Yeah. Um, Here's a funny thing. I always knew you were in Europe, but then I noticed that you also were responsible for starting, like you were associated with Santa Barbara Swim Association. Tell me about that. Yeah, how did that, like, were you part of it, or like what happened there? Yeah.
So I had been to Santa Barbara once in my life playing water polo in about, I would say 1987 or something like that. Once in my life, I was in Santa Barbara, California.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I got into communication with a kind of a Ned Denison equivalent in Santa Barbara. He had this kind of sad group of open water swimmers who looked exactly like our sad group of open water swimmers here, but they had tans. And he was interested in exploring the long distance stuff. And for some reason, I became the co-founder of the Santa Barbara Channel Swimming Association.
Okay.
We put together a board, and when we were over for Alcatraz, he said he knew I was coming to Alcatraz, and he said, "By the way, I've signed you up for one of the swims. You'll be the first one." I didn't really have any interest in doing the swim, but he described it as a bit like the busker that puts some coins in the case when they start playing, so other people will deposit. And through that swim, I met David and Beth Udevin, and that association continues to go on for years now.
Yeah, that's awesome. In fact, you may not remember this. I think I was the one who connected you with Southern Rowing Club back in 2007 or 2008.
Possible.
I mean, I have a small like a role there. Okay, it's only me taking credit, and I'm only telling you.
Southend Rowing Club, they were funny. They got the mayor to declare it a Cork swim day, an official certificate. And two other kind of funny stories. Southend Rowing Club had a gathering kind of the night before, whatever. We were the only ones that showed up, and we just thought it was for us. We weren't being obnoxious or anything. We went, we had some food, and had a great experience. And after the swim, I remember leaving the hotel down in the pier area. And I'm walking around to the hotel, and I'm headed because we had a party scheduled for our group. And it was something strange. I don't know what it was those years living in New York, but I noticed these three guys were following me. And I eventually kind of went to a place that had people and stopped and said, like, "Are you guys following me?" And they got to get a bit ashamed. And they said, "Yeah," they said, "You're the guy organizing the Ireland group, and we know you're having a party. So we're just following you to go to the party."
So there's always party associated with a swim.
We have a very social environment. People meet ahead of time. We don't do toes in the water at a certain time. There's come and chat at a certain time. On Fridays, there's typically cakes and cookies and home baked goods and coffee and tea or whatever. I don't do home baking, so about once a year I come down with a barbecue and cook sausage sandwiches. So believe me, I'm okay. At that formal sort of thing on Friday morning, those are when caps are given out. We have special awards. This year, it's a small piece of kindling with a ribbon on it.
Beautiful.
And this can go for somebody doing something interesting. So Brian Foster, who did a 3-way fastnet recently, he would have gotten a small piece of kindling with, I think, a gold ribbon instead of a red ribbon.
Okay.
And it's a small piece of wood. It's a piece of kindling. But if you tell somebody it's really important, and everybody thinks it's really important, you'd probably be on his mantelpiece for life. This small piece of kindling.
Absolutely.
We also routinely have an end of year gathering, and that end of year gathering, which started in my house, has now morphed into the Irish Long Distance Swimming Association's Ireland Awards, which gets about 150 people. And they give out about 250 awards, and the applause is like an American tech applause thing. Your hands are sore by the end of it, followed by a meal and a few drinks.
Beautiful.
The social is part of it, and I think one of the things that makes open water swimming special is it's not a sport that entertains prima donnas. You can't really put big fake eyelashes on under goggles. No one really cares that you got a new pair of Speedos. And we're changing next to the car in the open in the rain. We're getting dressed next to the car in the rain. And every now and then, either you or somebody comes over to you and borrows a gob of Vaseline for their armpit. So it's a real leveling of the sport. There's nothing you can buy that's going to turn you into a fabulous swimmer. It's not like show jumping where you can spend $4 million on a horse and be great. Then to continue on for our long distance stuff, I describe it as.
I have another question. I know you've done like hundreds of swims. How do you pick your swims? Is it just that, okay, hey, somebody invited you, or like is it just because on a map, or like what's the motivation behind a swim?
Okay, so I have a list of about 400 swims I want to do, but the next swim will not be on that list.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example. I got a call from Shubham Banmali, a Triple Crown swimmer from Mumbai. He came over. He stayed in my house for a couple of days, years and years ago. And we're having a chat, whatever, blah, blah, blah. What's up? What's up? What's up? And he said, Ned, he said, you should come to Mumbai and do this 35K swim, starting from the industrial port into the center of Mumbai. And I went, okay, you're not selling this, Shubham. Put the phone down. Called him up about 5 minutes later. I said, could I do that swim in November? He said, sure. So I was signed up. My time to sign up for a swim is about 3 minutes.
Okay.
If somebody comes up with an idea,
what happens in that 3 minutes? What's the rationale? How are you processing that? Yeah.
It happens quicker than a nuclear explosion. It just goes. Something clicks. Barbara Held called me up a couple of years ago. Barbara came to Cork Distance Week, and then she was going off the English Channel to do a solo, but had no crew. So people from Cork Distance Week went over to Dover to crew for her. And then Eddie Irwin went to Catalina, and she crewed. I went over to Catalina, she crewed. Gabor Molnar went over, she crewed. And she called me up like a year or two later and said, look, my friends and I were going to go do this thing, SCAR, in Arizona. I don't think I'd ever heard of it. She said, we've already rented the houses. We got a car. You got to come. Tell me a bit about it. And I went, okay.
I need to add a couple of kids into this equation, okay? But that's awesome. Yeah, I love the story.
Let me tell you a little bit about how we do open water. So we have a young woman now that she's her dream is to do the English Channel. And she wants to do the English Channel in 2008 or 2028. Sorry. So the first thing I said to her was, talk to so and so who you know, and get them to volunteer to be your crew chief. And have her arrange the boat. Because she knows several pilots. She's been over there a number of times. And she's not only an English Channel solo swimmer, but she's crewed 5 or 6 or 7 times. You used to kid her, she had a family over there. And then she was down this morning doing some group training with a gang. We have experienced coaches. We have people who have crewed more than 5 times on English Channel swims. We've got mentors. We have people that are willing to train. And I tell my story about Finbar Hederman, who started something interesting. He sent out a text years ago and said, I'm doing an 8-hour swim starting on Sunday, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning or something. Can people please sign up and keep me company for each hour? So I knew the group. I knew no one would sign up for 8 o'clock. So I signed up for 8 a.m. And Finbar, I got there and he's putting his feeds into this bucket that he's going to anchor out by the island. And so he says to me, you want to put a bottle or something in the thing? And I said, no, it's only an hour. He goes, I didn't tell you. He goes, Eddie's not coming until 10. So now it's like May or something. It's cold. I'm now signed up for 2 hours. And no offense, Eddie, mate, but you've never been on time for anything in your entire life. So Finbar swam the English Channel, and during the conference, the WOWSA and IMSHOF conference in 2012 or 13, whatever year it was, I said 130 of us swam the English Channel this year. Now, Finbar, the only guy who actually gets credit for it, but trust me, the other 129 of us were there. We were there in his training. We were there in his Google groups. We were there in his charity giving. Trust me, we were part of that swim.
Yes.
And when somebody signs up, it's an interesting thing. They start picking somebody 2% faster than them, and they get faster than them. And they pick somebody 2% faster again, and they're faster than them. And then they pick the person who's been doing 2 laps, and they stick with them. Then they look for the person who's doing 3 laps, and they stick with them. So they've got this group of this encouragement. So the reason I call it Hollywood is, the film financing and the gaff boy and the producers and the Screen Artists Guild, they're all out there. So if you want to make a movie, that's probably not a bad place to do it. I think the other thing we probably have to mention is Cork Distance Week.
We'll go to Cork Distance Week in a minute. Sure. Another question, you were mentioning about the swim caps, okay, 1 Turian, 3,000. I know you are somewhere up in the top, and you are a fierce competitor. Tell me how many laps is that public knowledge? Can you say the number right now? Like how many have you done?
I can tell you 2 numbers. My goal for the year is 350 laps. Okay. I've completed 348, so I'm a couple of weeks ahead of schedule.
Okay.
And I'm well over 4,300 laps.
Okay.
I'm not near the top. I am the top.
Okay.
And it's incredibly important to me. I will put landmines out. I will put sea mines out there if somebody tries to catch me.
Okay. No. Okay. You talk about community, but you're a fierce competitor and you're putting landmines. What is this about? Come on.
So Gabor Molnar, he always described us as his swimming enemies with a big smile on his face. So I'm a few laps ahead of Steve Foster. Okay. And I've been chasing him for 9 months to get ahead of him. So he was the first one to stick his hand out and congratulate me.
Okay.
There's 4 or 5 of us that, if there's a bump to be had out there, we're laying the body on each other. Just a friendly, yes, that's me kind of bump. If you're tired and you just want to get back, and somebody will appear out of the corner of your eye, and all of a sudden somebody is sprinting you to the end. Well, that just can't go unanswered. Just cannot go unanswered. We have a couple of passages through the rocks at what we call corner 1. One of them is called the V. It's less dangerous than the proper gap.
Okay.
I remember going through the V one time, and there was somebody on either side of me. The V going through alone is tricky enough. A little bit dangerous is probably the wrong word, but there was somebody on both sides of me, and I was going, you guys are nuts. You're like, why would you do it? So we have really healthy competition. We have a WhatsApp group that's updated 15 times a day of tracking laps for the year.
Okay.
And when somebody hits 100, there's congratulations notes happen, and they might get a kindling stick, and there's always good, friendly, positive competition.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Another question, like why did you move to Ireland? Yeah, like what was the rationale behind that? I know you're from Vermont, and then you've traveled all over North America, and you work in Europe. Like why Ireland? And
I came for social reasons and stayed.
And it's still social.
It's still social.
A small element of.
I think there's 100,000 places in the world you can be happy and live. I think this is one of them, and I suspect I could move to San Diego and make new friends and be happy. But I'm here. It's good.
Ned,
you froze for a minute, but I kept going somehow.
Okay, yeah. Let's hit that again. Yeah, you came to Ireland for social reason, and then now there's swimming involved in it. Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah.
I have a great group of friends. Interestingly, 2 doors down from me is a serious sea swimmer. The other 2 doors, the other direction, is another sea swimmer. 10 houses up is a couple that met and got married. They met at Cork Distance Week and got married. 15 houses the other direction, there's a couple of sea swimmers. And, you know, these are people I leave the house key with, and I see them every week or every day.
Awesome.
So it's a fantastic community.
Awesome.
Good friends.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Like over the years, you've been involved in several administrations. What keeps you going, Ned? You started your swimming career in. I know you talk about community, social, but you also give back a lot. I think I've been working very closely with you for the past 4 years, and you're always doing something with swimming administration. Like, what's the motivation there?
So I think that the first thing may not sound very positive, but is guilt. Okay. I've gotten so much out of the sport that I actually feel guilty I haven't given more. And it's a strange place to start, but I enjoy the people. I enjoy somebody from, you know, Australia sending me sending the community a note going, look, I'm going to be in Ireland. Any chance I can go for a swim? And I get an immediate response back. When are you here? What do you want to do? What's your speed like? Wetsuit, non-wetsuit? And then somebody's there to meet them and to say hello, and has an extra cup and hot tea and some biscuits, or if they're lucky, a homemade cupcake or something. And they have a good experience, and they leave and they go back home and they go, you know, I had a great trip to Ireland. Yeah, all that stuff. But the people down in Sandy Cove Island, they like really treated me like better than my mother does when I go home. And you know, the people who do their first 25K swim, and we present them with a cap or something. You know, and, we're part of that really special moment in their lives. But I would give everybody a bit of advice on it. The sport has exploded in the last 15 years. Huge number of swimmers and huge number of new events and races.
Yes.
We have not had an explosion in volunteers, not the same way. And what I would say to people is, you know, all of those things that you go to, unless you're paying a serious amount of money, the people who did the check-in, the people, the timekeepers, the people in the boats, the kayaks, they're all volunteers. Yeah, fine, you paid your $30 or something, but trust me, you didn't buy that service.
Yeah,
they all did that for free, either, and the money's either going to the local club or the lifeguards or the local hospital or something. So what I say, my advice to people is, go volunteer. It's not that hard. You could do it, work a registration desk for 2 hours. It's not that hard. We had a woman who came to Cork Distance Week this past year. She volunteered for 9 days. And mostly in the 9 days, she stood between the 3 pots of different soup and ladled out soup and gave people bread rolls and stuff. And at the end of it, she's a fine swimmer, but she wouldn't have normally qualified for Cork Distance Week.
Okay.
But she said, Ned, any chance I can come to Cork Distance Week as a swimmer next year? Of course, the answer is yes. How can you not reward somebody who put 9 days of volunteer work into something by saying yes? We have a swim we've started around the old head of Kinsale through the tunnel.
Okay.
This is an epic swim. It's going to be really hard to get a spot next year. You know who can get a spot? The people who brought a boat this year.
Okay.
And the people who crewed this year. If they're up to the swim and they want to swim, guess what? They're first on the list. So for everybody, I would say, just stick your hand up and volunteer. There's always something that needs to be done. And if you can't figure out what needs to be done, bring 3 thermoses of tea and 7 plastic cups and some biscuits to the next group meeting.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. I know you keep going back to the roots of community, which is awesome. That's grounded in you. I have this question for everybody that I speak to. Okay. What's a high performance team look like?
A high performance team or high performance?
High performance team, like.
So I would say adjust the word high. Okay. For high, it might be the English Channel. For Brian Foster, it was a two-way north channel. We are planning a swim next year, 10K, down a really calm river that's fairly shallow when the tide is going out.
Okay.
And that swim is for the people who are at like 6 or 7K personal best swim.
Okay.
And we're going to get them for their 10K cap. For that team, that's going to be a high performance team on that day and leading up to it. So for them, for other people, it might be their first lap. We have some smaller point-to-point swims locally. So the performance in the team, I guess the team, you need a swimmer with some motivation and a desire. They have to have a desire to do something. They then need their home support. It might be their partner or their kids are going to give them a break. They ideally want training partners. You can do all this stuff alone, but it's much, much tougher and not as safe. Need your team. You may or may not have different kinds of coaches. You may have a coach doing stroke work with you. You may have a coach doing mental visualization in toughness. You might have somebody advising you on nutrition. And then even for our little group, we for the winter in particular, we have 2 lanes in a local swimming pool. And there's one of the lanes we call the chat lane, and the other lane is more competitive. And I'm hanging on by my fingernails in when I went back for the second time on Friday since the winter started. And normally Adrian, who's behind me, if he touches my toes in a 2-hour set, he's smiling for a week. And he knew I wasn't in pool shape, and he was behind me, just banging on my toes the entire time. It just bothered the living daylights of me in a positive way. I go back to the pool, and Adrian is going to pay in a few weeks.
Awesome.
He's not even going to see my toes.
Okay. What does failure mean to you, Ned?
So DNF is, by most descriptions, did not finish. Charlotte Bryn from Vermont declared it to be did not fail. We had somebody declare a new triple crown of open water swimming, which was did not swim, did not finish, finished. And he literally had that in the English Channel.
Okay.
He was weathered out the first year. The second year went over, and the conditions changed on him. In the third year, he went over and completed. So that was his thing. I think fail is not to take it seriously. We had a swimmer a few years ago who signed up for the channel years and years in advance and got a new job and built a house and decided to take up triathlon and didn't really train, didn't really take it seriously. I contacted him months and months ahead of time and asked if he needed help with crew. And no, he was okay. And he contacted me the day before and said, Ned, I'm desperate. I don't have any crew. And I went, it's tomorrow in Dover, England. I can't. So he failed at every step in the preparation. But if you've done the preparation well, if you've trained well, if you've set your targets and met your targets, and you go over to Dover, for example, English Channel, and for whatever reason, you don't get wet, or the conditions deteriorate horribly and they pull you, or something, you just wasn't your day, you've not failed. You've made an outrageous goal that stopped your friends and your parents and your partner in their tracks, and they went, whoa. You changed your entire life. You got up early in the morning, you pounded out the laps, you went out when it was raining and trained. And the training in the rain is not tough. It's getting changed afterwards in the rain. You cannot physically do it. You drank that horrible carbo stuff. That's not a failure. That's not a failure.
Way to go. Yeah. So what does courage mean to you, Ned?
Courage is to go from a dream to a goal. Period.
Way to go. Beautiful.
I completed False Bay a number of years ago, and one of the messages I got, which always struck with me, was somebody said, "I've been waiting 30 years for a perfect day to try that swim." It was a local person. 30 years. In 30 years, you never got in. You never got wet. In 30 years, you live local. And the swims in South Africa are incredibly value-based. They don't cost a lot of money. But I just thought, 30 years, you never got wet. That's not courage.
Okay, beautiful. And what's the most difficult thing that you've done?
It was
swimming, work, huh?
Yeah, start with swimming. It was False Bay.
False Bay, okay.
Because at the time, it's 30 kilometers by 30 kilometers. It's full of fish. They don't allow nets. There's 200,000 seals. There's a seal breeding colony, a rock kind of in the middle. And at the time, there were 200 great whites.
Oh my God, okay.
And it wasn't a popular swim. There were only 4 people had done it before me. So my strength is a preparation. The mental part of my swimming has never been my strongest. But it really had to be in False Bay. You had to be mentally strong.
Strong, okay.
Because you're swimming along and your hand hits something and your imagination goes wild. Or I tell the story that I look up and there's a shark shield, this wire behind the boat, which in theory draws the sharks into a certain distance and repels them. No one really knows whether it works or not. So I breathe to the right and I look over. The guy comes over. He's tapping on the box with the shark shield and he goes like this and he walks away. And a minute or so later, comes over with a screwdriver. And you can see he's taking the batteries out. You're like, and disappears for a while. He comes back, hopefully with some new batteries, but who knows? Screws it all up, taps it a couple of times, goes like this and walks away. I didn't really need to see any of that, Matthew.
Okay.
You really didn't need to see that. So there was a temporary interruption in the protective magnetic field around me.
Beautiful.
And I've told a number of people my visualization story. There's a famous sports show in England called The Question of Sport. And one of the famous things they do is they have a video session where, if you'll imagine in soccer or football, the ball is crossed in and everybody jumps up and they stop the video and they ask the panel, what happened? And the goal is to like, Bob Jones headed it in the far right-hand corner or something. Those are the answer. So my visualization with False Bay was I'm swimming along and a 7-meter great white shark comes out of the depths and takes me up. Got a hand on either side of the jaw, which is, it's a good sort of 2-meter across jaw. It goes up to the top and they stop the video and they say to the panel, what happened? And they, at him and, and all those things. So they run the tape again and I start punching.
I think you're ripping its mouth.
No, punching the shark. It goes down. There's a big splash, and the moderator goes, and he finished the last 10 miles of the swim. So when I got done, I was happy I didn't see any great whites. Apparently, they see you, but you don't see them.
Okay.
But I was disappointed there was no video. I was just, it was a niggle there. But that was my hardest sporting accomplishment.
Beautiful. That's awesome, Ned. This is a wonderful conversation. I know. I want to have another conversation about your Cork Distance Week. Okay, we'll just talk about the concept behind that. And thanks for your time. It's fun working with you, Ned.
And you, Matthew. Take care and thank you very much.
Cheers. Yeah. Bye-bye.
I brought up. I do one that can be possible. They look beautiful. Don't know the houses. We got to make a lot of walking units. One of the different map series now.